Prince Harry has always been on the radar, but his recent actions have literally divided the world into two camps. Some see him as a traitor, while others see him as a fighter for his freedom. But who is he really? Today we'll break down his most scandalous decisions and try to understand why they caused such a wave of outrage. Ready to find out what's behind the prince's media image? Stay tuned, you'll be surprised. A third expert has now said that Harry's bottom line is that he is too simple a person. He simply doesn't understand many of the circumstances of his own life. The prince is convinced he's right and Meghan has been treated horribly. These are Tom Bower's words from his interview with The Sun, in which he speculates on whether Harry regrets writing Spare. The conversation took place after Harry and Meghan visited the opening of a bookshop near their home. Tom says the prince is clearly proud of his book, which has caused controversy. He's delighted with his success and I'm sure he has absolutely no regrets about all the things he said about all the terrible allegations and, I think, some of the lies. Tom Bower believes Harry is too detached from ordinary life and still thinks he is terribly special, as the Duke continues to deny that anything told in the book is not true. He is an exceptionally selfish man, a man for whom the truth is often a foreign landscape, and in my opinion he has no chance of coming back. And Meghan will never return at all. She enjoys living in California too much, and she had no intention of lingering in Britain in the first place. To such conclusions Tom Bower was prompted by everything that happened at the opening of a bookshop in California with the participation of Harry and Meghan. The Dukes weren't shy about displaying their literary masterpieces Spare and The Bench prominently in our local authors exhibit. When someone at the opening asked Harry to recommend a book, the prince silently pointed to his memoirs. The prince continues to be detached from real life. When he lived outside the palace walls, that was understandable. But the walls of a palace in Britain are quite different from the walls of a house in Montecito. Nevertheless, deafness to what is happening around him has already become typical for Harry. Respected royal biographer Ingrid Seward told The Sun that Americans hate Prince Harry for insulting his own family. Most Americans believe that family is a very important part of life. Especially Americans that I know hate the very idea that he insulted his family, doesn't speak to his brother and has never met Meghan's father. I mean, it's really weird. Is she ashamed of her father? Why hasn't Harry met him? It's that estrangement from family that people find very alienating, as opposed to what William and Kate demonstrated in their latest video. I think what people really don't like is that he insulted his family. The Spare book may have made him millions, but damn it, he paid for it. And the prince himself continues to smile and lead the life of alternative royalty in America. He is reissuing his little book, now in paperback. It will be released in the UK on October 24th and in the US on October 22nd. Just on that day will be the first meeting of His Majesty's heads of government in Samoa, but this minor event is of little importance when it comes to the reissue of a literary masterpiece. Some royal experts think differently and say it's impossible to think of a worse time to bring things to the surface once again. Maybe Harry himself is too simple and doesn't realize it, but the king's granting him such unlimited freedom continues to infuriate the world. Of course, nowadays the monarchy is not the same as it was in the past centuries, but even the present monarchy sometimes wants some firmness. After all, it continues to participate in wars, as it did centuries ago. Harry's transgression was called treachery 1,000 years ago, and continues to be called treachery in our time. The severity of this betrayal is compounded many times over by Harry's closeness to the King and the Prince of Wales, for it hurts most when those closest to you are betrayed. In our Russian history there was a similar event, but then the Tsar was betrayed not by his blood relatives, but only by his closest entourage, the nobility. I am talking about the Decembrist uprising in 1825. I recognize at once the huge difference between these events, because Harry did not intend to eliminate the monarchy itself as a system of government and did not intend to physically eliminate the king, as the Decembrists from the Southern Society planned. I'm talking about the meaning now. Harry's treachery seems to me similar to the betrayal of the Russian Tsar by the upper circle of the nobility. After all, they too were colleagues, they studied together, danced at the same balls, danced in the same society. Do you think Harry did the right thing by breaking off relations with the royal family? The Russian Tsar paid for his betrayal harshly. The story of the Decembrist Joseph Poggio is less well known, but no less interesting. Joseph was the son of Vittorio Amadeo Poggio, who at the time of Catherine II entered the Russian service and participated in the Russian-Turkish War. During the storming of Izmir he showed himself a real hero. In Odessa he married, 2 sons Joseph and Alexander were born, both chose a military career, distinguished themselves in the War of 1812, and in 1824 joined the Southern Society of Decembrists. After the uprising on Senate Square, both brothers were arrested, the mitigating circumstance being that neither of them personally took part in the uprising. Therefore, the Tsar did not execute them, but imprisoned them in a fortress and deprived them of all communication with their relatives. The relatives did not even know for sure whether they were alive or not. Joseph Poggio spent 8 years in solitary confinement in the Schlüsselburg fortress. He was not allowed to read or write, and through a small window under the ceiling he could see only occasional rays of sunlight. After 8 years it was decided to send the prisoner to Siberia, but he could only be sent there on condition that his wife did not follow him. In the fortress his fate was predetermined: blindness, illness, death. Siberia gave some hope. Therefore the divorce was an attempt of the wife to save her husband's life, at least in this way. She agreed to all conditions and got a divorce, but Joseph Poggio was not even notified about it. In Siberia he waited for his wife, sitting for long hours at a road stone. Only in January 1848 hope left him. He became seriously ill and died. A year later his ex-wife, who had already been remarried, died of hypothermia after taking a bath that was too cold. Locked up in Harry's room, deprived of the opportunity to write his memoirs, would have been a great gift to the world. Closing him in would be the fairest and easiest of all possible ways. But a closed Harry, deprived of the opportunity to write, would have received the halo of a martyr, a fighter against the monarchy, who was gagged by his rapist father. This is therefore the path the king does not take. Devoted sick father feels unwell, but finds the strength to laugh in the company of girls from the New Zealand women's rugby team Black Ferns. The sincere girls begin to embrace the king despite protocol. The king can stay kind by doing things by other people's hands. Soon Harry will go to the mountains with friends for his birthday, and he may wake up in a small private clinic somewhere in Europe. And again, he was not allowed to read or write, and through a small window in the ceiling he saw only the occasional ray of sunlight. Just before his 40th birthday, Harry formulated his mission statement. It seems there is a ray of light in the dark kingdom of British royalty whose mission is to make this world a better place. Isn't that wonderful? I was so moved, I even wept. A revolutionary grew up within the palace walls? A great humanist? A renowned human rights activist? Did the royal family raise Mahatma Gandhi? Jawaharlal Nehru? Nelson Mandela? Each of them made the world a better place in their own way, and the biographies of these great men are well known to us. Thanks to the immortal creation of J.R. Moringer, some facts of the biography of the world leader, which the former prince imagines himself to be, have also become known to us. I randomly chose for you 9 facts that he and the ghostwriter told in spare, so that you once again make up an idea of the valiant hero, whose task is to improve the world. Before his first date with the actress, when and where it took place is not specified this time, Harry took part in a 5-hour sailing race. There were no facilities on board, but the prince only noticed this when nature called. It's not unusual to have a petit needle at sea, but Harry was afraid he might be photographed at that moment. Eventually I got back to my post, hung embarrassingly from the ropes and wet myself," he wrote. "Wow, I thought, if only Ms. Markle could see me now." He quickly rinsed his trousers in water, method unspecified, and rushed to London to meet Meghan. Couldn't drink himself senseless at a stag party. Blame it on his older brother, who was terribly jealous of Harry's beauty, who was allowed by the Queen to keep a thick red beard for the wedding, while William was ordered to shave according to protocol. Harry learned that William planned to retaliate and shave off his beard himself, depriving him of all his beauty on his wedding day. At the stag party, Harry wanted to de-stress but had to avoid getting too drunk to keep a wary eye on his brother. The Queen arrived in the form of a hummingbird. Harry, who was returning to Montecito from the Queen's funeral, had a tiny bird, a hummingbird, fly into his house. A friend warned him that it could be a sign, because Spanish researchers call the hummingbird the bird of resurrection. Then the thought struck Harry that it was his grandmother, the Queen, whom he missed very much and wanted to hug, for he had arrived at Balmoral too late. "I thought hopefully, greedily and foolishly, is our home a diversion or a destination?" He even wanted to keep the bird, but on second thought, he let it out into the wild. The Queen is thrilled with Archie and Lilibeth. The role of the prince today is Meghan +1. Harry finds himself in the same position as his father 30 years ago, when the subjects enthusiastically welcomed Princess Diana, and even ran to her side to shake her hand. There were always fewer people on the future king's side. In the couple of Meghan and Harry, the center of attention is always Meghan. In Nigeria, she has been dubbed Princess Arachukwu. Francia Marquez invited the couple to come to Colombia after she developed empathy for Meghan while watching the film. Wife ousts Prince from Unbowed Games. She gave a speech at a bookshop opening. Meghan, Meghan, Meghan. And Harry is like his grandfather Philip, 3 steps behind. But Philip followed the Queen. Even the prince's birthday party will be attended by his wife's Hollywood acquaintances, for the poor man's contacts in America are very few. The isolation is progressing, to the point that the prince's best friend is now his security guard David Langdown, called Langers. Again, a source reports. The guard is an Englishman who moved to Montecito with his family. He and Harry are very close-knit. They're inseparable. The bookshop, at the opening of which Harry appeared with Meghan, was opened by 2 of the Duchess's friends, literary agent Jennifer Rudolph Walsh and cosmetics firm director Victoria Jackson. The event was a milestone for Harry. This event summed up Harry's life in a nutshell. He was there as a +1 rather than an equal, someone useful for social media photography. His circle of friends is curated by Meghan. His social life seems to be increasingly directed and built by her. Which of his old friends are coming to his birthday party in the mountains? Pop King Elton John, whom the Sussexes consider a close friend, will send a bouquet instead, as he did for Meghan's birthday. Local flower shop manager Felipe Sandoval said, "Elton always orders orchids in a white container and we arrange for them to be delivered for Harry's birthday." He sent the same for the Duchess of Sussex's birthday too. James Corden, who Harry also counts as a friend, is currently busy filming Gavin and Stacey in Wales. Of the old friends Harry went to Eton with, only Nikki Scott has been spotted outside the Montecito house. The others in the confrontation between the brothers have chosen to side with the monarchy. It looks like the prince will be heading for the mountains with Nacho Figueras and Nikki Scott if he can keep Meghan at home. Harry is depressed as life in the US increasingly disgusts him. Meghan has a permanent smile and Harry has a permanent scowl. From flirty 30s to single 40s. Right now, the prince's day is like Groundhog Day, traveling to school, cycling around the neighborhood accompanied by bodyguards, walking the dogs. Work days are spent under Meghan's control and at a shared desk with her, sometimes interrupted by meditation. Now Harry is a mean boy, as one friend called him. Everyone who knows him thinks he'd rather be up here at the top of the popularity ladder, for everyone to love him, like they do with William and Kate. How would you react if you were him? Write your opinion in the comments, let's discuss. In the presence of his wife, he is being rude. Santa Barbara resident Sarah Kerr recalls meeting her friend Meghan and Harry at Kevin Costner's party at his estate, which he threw to benefit charity 1805. Our friend who was there said Harry and Meghan were almost rude because they weren't sociable. They weren't socializing with anyone. This is the Harry who, in his 30s, was on the crest of a wave and in Britain was more popular than the Queen herself. After 2 tours of Afghanistan and the Unconquered Games in London, 20% of Britons listed him as their favorite member of the royal family, while only 17% listed the late Queen as their favorite. At the time, his best friend was nightclub owner Guy Pelly. On the occasion of the prince's 30th birthday, his friend organized a grand party for him in Clarence's house, during which the guests drank champagne and claret sent by his father and listened to the pop singer Ellie Goulding. The end of the program was a disco with artificial snow, dedicated to the ski theme. Royal expert Phil Dampier recalls that time. When Harry turned 30, he was seen as a down-to-earth person, the sort of person people would imagine having a pint in the pub with. It's amazing to see how much has changed in those 10 years. His popularity has plummeted. I'm not sure who is coming to Harry's 40th birthday party because he seems to be very isolated and dependent on Meghan. He even seems to have lost touch with Guy Pelly, who organized his 30th birthday party, because even though they both live in America, they don't seem to see each other very often. Harry is now the 3rd most unpopular man in the UK, with his wife and disgraced Prince Andrew ahead of him. Is Harry happy with everything? People following the news from the British royal family have already started to take his stance, allowing Meghan anything she wants for mild mental retardation. But suddenly, in an 84-word statement about the upcoming birthday party, Harry, oh wonder, didn't say a word about his beloved wife. He talked about his children, his mission to make the world a better place, but not a word about the woman he married 6 years ago. This is completely uncharacteristic for him, as he had mentioned her before, in and out of places. From this it is easy to conclude that the prince understands everything. Maybe not so deeply, but he cannot but feel the difference between a disco with artificial snow on his 30th birthday and a lonely hike in the mountains in a foreign country on his 40th birthday. But, like a capricious child or a difficult teenager, he will never show that he was wrong, that he understands and is ready to admit his mistakes. He is a prince. Let them look for an approach to him. He will continue to live in America and cuckoo, snapping back to Britain every chance he gets. Thank you for watching to the end. Now I want to hear your opinion. Do you support Harry or do you think he's a traitor? Write your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all the latest news and revelations. During the Sussex children's date with the Queen, Archie bowed and Lilibeth hugged her legs. This pleased Her Majesty so much that she called them the sweetest children. She expected them to be a little more American, I think. That is, in her opinion, more rambunctious. If you want to know more about the real reasons behind Prince Harry's actions and discuss his life with other viewers, subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We continue to get to the bottom of the most high-profile world events. Holding Meghan's hair over the toilet. Before his and Meghan's wedding, they invited Princess Eugenie and her current husband Jack Brooksbank to visit. Meghan cooked salmon. They chatted a little about traveling, about filming in the TV series Force Majeure, and started drinking tequila. After which shot Meghan felt bad, it is not specified, but she went to bed before everyone else. Where Eugenie, Jack and Harry fell asleep, it is not specified, but waking up the prince heard his wife vomiting in the toilet, and in his memory immediately appeared squid, which she ate for lunch at the restaurant. Everyone understands, if a lady who has had too much tequila vomits in the loo, it's from squid. What else could it be from? Harry did like a gentleman. He called the paramedics, took her hair in his hands, where he found it at that moment is also not specified, and held it back while the woman of his dreams vomited into the toilet. Whether his memoir is an attempt to tell his truth or just a desire to capitalize on the scandal is up for debate. I rubbed her back and eventually put her to bed. Weak, almost crying, she said she had imagined a very different ending to the fourth date. Intimate details about Dad's life. When taking a bath, Charles listens to children's stories. To do this, he uses a CD player. Daddy used to carry his wireless, that's what he called his portable CD player, on which he liked to listen to his story books while soaking in the bath. The Queen plugged her ears so she couldn't hear the music at her anniversary party. Paul McCartney's wonderful song Her Majesty as well as God Save the Queen sung by Queen guitarist Brian May were not heard by the Queen during her Diamond Jubilee. The monarch, who was dancing tirelessly, had yellow earplugs in his ears. When a headache-ridden Harry noticed them, he thought, "More than ever, I wanted to hug my grandmother." After his first date with Meghan, the prince got stoned. After his date with the actress, Harry decided to meet up with a friend to brag about his progress. It didn't take long for tequila and weed to emerge, accompanied by the cartoon film puzzle. Harry felt numb and said, "Good weed, mate." Then the phone rang and he panicked. It was a video call from Meghan. He said he liked her freckles and she replied that they would be removed every time she was photographed. Intimate details from the Pope's life again. The King's favorite aftershave is Dior's 1960 Eau Savage fragrance, which he slathers on. Harry described the smell as floral with a hint of something pungent and like pepper or gunpowder. It says on the bottle that it is made in Paris, which made Harry think of a mummy. This information is more than enough to get an idea not only of the book, but also of the level of thinking of the main character himself, about whom a subscriber wrote very accurately yesterday. Fool. Simplicity is worse than stealing. Why do people expect normal behavior from Luo, if he is not even able to understand, evaluate and analyze it? Luo, mild mental retardation, quick literacy. We are talking only about a mild degree of retardation, debility. It is characterized by reduced intelligence, disorders of speech and motor development, emotional and volitional sphere. Outwardly, a person may not differ from the rest, but he cannot concentrate, he has brain damage. This leads to difficulties in learning. Features of personality. With the most excellent correction in childhood, adults with LUO slowly remember the information received, quickly forget it. They are not able to generalize, they do not possess abstract concepts. They do not understand the logical connection between events and phenomena. They are unable to draw conclusions about what is happening. A trusting oligophrenic is easy to turn into an executive zombie, indoctrinate anything. Deceive. The socialized can live separately, work, start families, but that's not the level of a beauty blogger. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people." Discussing people is unlikely to make the world a better place, but you can try. I remember someone's phrase, "If you want to make the world a better place, start with yourself." But it depends on who to make it better for. If it's for yourself, you can end up with yourself. Harry told the truth about his family and didn't notice it. British newspapers with the help of insiders close to Harry have created quite an intrigue, keeping people guessing what the prince is really thinking and feeling. Insiders close to the couple make arguments proving that the prince is living out, literally, his last months at his home in Montecito, with his wife Meghan and children. He will return to Britain at the earliest opportunity. Harry's friends have a different version. The prince is happy with his new life in America and will never return to Britain. The truth was told, or rather silent, by Harry himself in a message on the occasion of his 40th birthday.